Alright, let's talk about locomotion. So first, I've done a couple things to the level here. The floor, I have moved from being 1, 1, 1 on the scale to just being 3 and 3 for X and Y. Just went ahead and upped the scale here, just like that. And then I went over to geometry and pulled in some boxes to make some walls here. They are just about 3,000 each as far as length. Doesn't really matter. So I've also set up this little box here that's up in the air so that we can go over crouching in some of the next videos here. But today what I really want to do is just go over the different movement modes that I've set up and how we can switch between them, and we'll cover snap turning too because it's really simple. So first let me show you what I got going on here. Got my controllers. They each can have a separate type of movement control, what I'm calling a movement mode. So right now the right defaults to D-pad press, so you actually have to press the D-pad on the Vive controller and it'll move you left to right, back and forth. And it's also dictated by the orientation of the controller. So you can see I'm moving left and right based on which direction the controller is pointed. On the left I have it defaulted to snap turn, so I can hit the left button, or sorry, the right button to move right, left button to move left. And they can both work at the same time. Then when you hit the shoulder buttons, which are the buttons on top there above the D-pad, it'll switch between them. So now we're on teleport, and then D-pad press controller, D-pad hover controller, which is just the controller orientation version of the D-pad press, but you don't actually have to press anything. You just hover your thumb over the D-pad. Then we've got the same things, D-pad press and D-pad hover. However, it is now dictated by the HMD, so the head-mounted display. If I start looking to the left, it's going to move me more left, even though I'm just pushing up or just hovering over up. Okay. And then we go back through again through snap turn, teleport, and back. Okay. So, in order to accomplish this, the first thing we have to do is create a new enumeration. So we've got this E movement mode right here. I've already created that. Really all you have to do is just right click into the content browser, go up to blueprints, and then you can make enumeration. And all an enumeration is just a list of names. So you open this up and then you can add as many as you want, delete as many as you want. So you can change it even after you make them. You don't have to be stuck into the same set. If I wanted to add more movement modes, like the super ridiculous arm swinging mode where you just flail your arms around and it moves you, which I'm not going to add because I think it's the silliest thing in the world. So you want to make sure these are descriptive. It doesn't really matter how long it is. You don't want super long names. You want them to be simple and tell you what they are, tell you what they do, so you don't have to worry about getting it lost. And then you can always add more detail on the description part. And you want to do that first when you create it so that you don't end up being like, oh man, that was a weird name. I don't know why I chose that. And what does that one actually do? So this can help you keep track of all that. Same thing for the actual description of what the enumeration is. So make sure you fill those out just out of habit. So now that we have that enumeration, we can open up the character here and add a couple of new variables. I've got the right movement mode and the left movement mode variables. And these are actually of the type of enumeration we just made. So I've got that here and it gives you a list, and you can actually set the default here. Like I said, the left is default to snap turn. I could just change that right here if I wanted to, so that when you start the game it's off on something else. But ideally this is something that you'd have in the menu of the game so that the player can change it whenever they'd like. But just in order to switch around between them and make sure they're working, I quickly went ahead and just added these right here, which all you have to do is just right click, start typing in motion controller, shoulder, and see we've got the left and right controllers. And you don't have to change anything else or add any new inputs. It's already in there. So when we press that, I made a new function that we're going to call, and we're going to use this function for both the left and the right. And all we're going to do is pass in the grip motion controller, just like in here, same thing, so that we know which hand it is. And then when we're done with this function, it's going to spit out a new movement control for us so that we can set these variables over here. We can set them on the character and change them. And then after that, I'm just going to print a string so that I can see it on screen. I'm not going to deal with setting up the text over the controllers because really they should be in a menu somewhere. But let's open up this function and see what it does. So to start off with, we're going to take that controller that we passed in, we're going to get the hand type of it, and if it's left, we're going to go up here, get the left movement mode, and set that to a new local variable. Down here, functions can have local variables, it's good to use those. If it's the right, we'll set it to the right, and then we'll continue on. We'll see which movement mode it's currently in. So let's say we are currently in the D-pad press controller movement mode. What we want to do then is just take the current mode, add 1 to it. So it's a numeration. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, 3. So we're going to add 1 so that we move down the list. And then this is just transferring it from a byte value to an enumeration value, right, of our certain type so that we can set the variable again and then pass it out in the return mode. Just like we saw back over here. As it exits, we set it here. Technically, we could set it in here as well, but I just like to have it out so you can see we're doing the function and then we're setting it. You know, it's up to you. Then after we get down to the last name in the enumeration, we have to manually set it to the first one in the enumeration, right? So we get to the bottom, we get to teleport. I'm going to manually set it back to the first one to D-pad press controller so that you can cycle through again, right? So you just keep hitting the shoulder button. It'll keep cycling. It'll go +1, +1, +1, +1, and then back to 0, +1, +1, just like that as you keep pressing it. Okay, so that's how we're changing through the different movement modes. Again, you'll want to do this in a menu somewhere that the player can access and then just change it through there instead of hitting a button. The buttons on controllers are very limited, so you don't really want to take them up if you don't have to. All right, so next let's go over snap turning. Snap turning, again, super simple. We don't have to add any new inputs to our project. We can just grab the face button 2 and 4. For the Vive specifically, you can see from this image that the face buttons for the Vive are actually 1, 2, 3, and 4. So right is 2, left is 4. So this is how the Vives actually translate to Unreal Engine's terminology. So I'm getting the left controller's right button and left button on the D-pad here. So when that's pressed, I'm going to check and see, all right, which movement mode are you in? I only want to continue doing things if you're in the snap turn movement mode with this. Now, after we do the snap turn, we got this nice little node called Perform Move Action Snap Turn. Now, this is a plugin specific node. There are actually several different move actions. You can see we can set custom ones. We can set rotation, snap turn, stop all movement, teleport. You'll want to be using these because they have a lot of functionality in them that helps with bugs and multiplayer specifically that the plugin takes care of for you that the Unreal Engine doesn't. So in this node, it's asking for a target. It's looking for a VR-based character movement component, which is this little guy right here. Since we're already in the character, we don't have to find the character and then find the movement reference. We can just grab it right here. But you could technically call this node anywhere you want as long as you can get a reference to the VR movement, right, of whoever you want to use this move action on. So after we get the target, we're going to see, okay, how much do I want to turn? So if we unplug this here, you can see you can just add it in whatever number you want. If you wanted to turn by 45 degrees, you could do that by 90 degrees, whatever you want to do. But really what you want to do is set up a variable so that, again, this can be in the menu where the player can change how much they want to be turning by the snap turn, right? So you could either give them a list of like, okay, you can turn by 30 or 45 or 90 or 180, whatever. And they can choose if you make it a variable. And then once you make it a variable, if you wanted to get the opposite direction, all you have to do is just multiply it by a -1, and that'll turn it into a negative number from a positive. So you don't have to keep track of both. You can have just one and then times it by a -1 in order to make it a negative. And that's what we're doing here. When we're pressing face button 4, which is left on the D-pad, we're going to go the opposite way, right? So here you can see this is the option without doing it with a variable. You're just locked into whatever this says. So it's always going to be 45 degrees. You're going to have to come back in here and hard code it to be something else. The player won't be able to change it. It's going to be 45 and -45 no matter what you do. So it's not ideal. So last thing to talk about with these snap turn nodes here is the flag grip teleport boolean. Now what this does, it'll tell anything that you have gripped currently to run the event teleport, right? So if we take a look here at our grab me, or grippable actually, let's take a look at the grippable because that's a VR interface one. It'll have that option in the VR grip interface settings here. So we've got on teleport behavior, right? So on teleport behavior, you can either teleport all components, delta teleportation, only teleport root component, drop, or don't teleport at all. So I'm going to change this to drop on teleport so we can see it happen here. Give you an example. And we're going to hit flag drip on teleport for both of these. Actually, just for the right, just so we can see the difference here. So now when I load this up, and I get my right controller going here, make sure I can see this little sphere I made. I'm going to try and grip him. Okay, so I'm currently gripping him. Let me make sure I'm in snap turn. There we go, snap turn. Now if I turn to the right here, whoa, this thing is shaking like crazy. All right, hold on, let me, oh, jeez. Oh, okay, all right. So if I go to the right, oh, I dropped it. I didn't let go of the trigger. I swear. Look, see? Oh, it's not pressed down. No. You're just gonna have to trust me. I didn't let it go. Let me grab it again. All right. So now if I go to the left, if I snap turn to the left, oh, I didn't drop it. Cool. Now if I drop it, if I snap to the right, oh, dropped it. Hey, no, come back. Come here. Oh, God. Oh, here we go. All right, I got him. One more time. Let me just make sure. I'm not crazy. Oh, I went too far. Here we go. Snap turning to the left. Nice. I still got it. Going to the right. Oh, man. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. So that's really about it. I'll keep this one short. We'll go over the D-pad press and the D-pad hover on the next video. But until then, have a good one.